Hey, everybody from the Galilee family. I want to welcome you to another edition of our Galilee podcast. Today is a great podcast. We are on episode 8, and we're continuing a series that we've been doing, kind of looking at different ministries and organizations in our community, as well as some of our own mission partners that we have as a church. And so today we actually are going to get to spend some time with probably one of our oldest and longest mission partners, and that is North Georgia Christian Camp. So today on the call, on the podcast with me, I've got Brian and Collin with me, and we've also been honored to have Jared Cox with us this morning, who is the director of North Georgia Christian Camp, who has lived and breathed camp, I think, for a long time. And so welcome all of you.
Good to be here. Thanks. Yeah, good to be here.
My dog is going nuts at something outside.
You'll probably hear mine in a second, so sorry for that in advance.
No, it's totally fun. So welcome, everybody. So hopefully everybody's doing well over the last few weeks in this crazy, weird time that we find ourselves in of the pandemic. I know for us at Galilee, it's been a lot of adjusting, trying new things, doing things differently, which has been both a challenge but also a great opportunity. I imagine that camp has been similar. You guys navigating, trying to figure out what the summer is going to look like. I feel like every staff meeting we've had, Brian has sadly had to say one other thing that he couldn't do.
Please don't bring it up, please.
It's killing me, every meeting, it's like, well, this thing got canceled. I can't do that now. So
I usually like live out of a bag all summer, man. Like I'm on a trip here and I get back and I got 2 days to wash my clothes. Like I don't know what to do.
Horrible.
Like this is I feel like I just need to go away with some rowdy students, with some somebody that will just trash a van, or make me stay up late. I just need something, man. Like
I know you guys, man. You live for the summer, and this one is going to be
summer youth ministry.
It's going to be a challenge. I know for you guys at the camp, Jared, you guys love summer too. So first off, let's just start by Jared. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about the camp, and kind of give us a little bit of your backstory.
Okay, yeah, cool. Well, thanks for having me today. Obviously, it's good to be here with you guys and hang out a little bit. It's pretty lonely up here at the camp right now. It's very quiet. This is the week that camp was supposed to have started, so instead of, hearing kids yelling and carpet balls flying around and stuff like that and just being at the camp nonstop, it's quiet and really quiet, and that's about it. That's how it's been for the past 2.5 months, and man, we're ready for something to happen, that's for sure. But yeah, like you said a minute ago, I grew up at camp, like in the truest sense of growing up at some a place. My dad was the camp director before me. My granddad actually had a pretty big hand in starting the camp way back in the day. But yeah, my dad moved here in 1996 and I was a kid. And so, this was our stomping ground, like the 45 acres that this camp's on, this side of the mountain, me and my brothers would just run rampant all over it. And, it was our home, and we've always loved camp. It's been really cool to grow up here. And then obviously attended every camp I could as a kid. And then when I got old enough in high school to work at camp, I started doing that, and I've literally worked every summer ever since. So this is year 14 or 15, something like that, since I started in high school working up here. And I went to college at Atlanta Christian College, studied English, which I've done nothing with. And then after graduation, they brought me on full time to kind of help Dad with some of the physical load of running the camp, and that kind of transitioned into more leadership as he was kind of phasing out and wanting to get back into ministry full time. And about 3 years ago now, I got the job as the camp director. So kind of running full circle here with my dad and everything, and it's just been really cool. I have a wife, no kids yet. We have a Labradoodle who's, like I said, you'll probably hear barking. She's in the back room right now with my wife, and she'll probably try and get out here at some point. But anyway, that's a little bit about me. I love camp, man. That's really is my whole life. All year long, we work for summer. We do, rental groups and that sort of thing. But, our bread and butter, what we exist for is to put on camps for kids in the summertime. So right now it's a really weird time, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool, man. Thanks again for sharing with us. Brian, you want to jump in there?
We tell us a little bit. I know I've been in a couple meetings with you because I'm helping with some camp stuff. Like this summer is just, I know it's so difficult, man, like of how this is affecting camps. What is like one thing you really learned God's been teaching you through all this COVID-19 stuff? I know with me, it's the big thing is just patience and that I'm not in control. But what's he kind of teaching you right now or through all this?
Yeah, it's funny. So, I got sent these questions and I wrote down just some brief responses, and literally, I want to read it because let's see, where is it here? Yeah. Okay. So patience in all caps and letting go of control. Those are like the two. I'm right there with you, man. I'm not like a super controlling person naturally, but I do like to know what's going on, especially when it comes to things at the camp. I like to feel like I'm in control up here, and I've had none of that. So definitely being taught to live in uncertainty, to kind of let go of the control, let go of that aspect of myself, and learn that, man, life goes on even if we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And so that's probably been the biggest thing we're trying to learn here. Like 2.5 months of uncertainty is, when we basically know everything all the time, in this day and age, like with our phones and everything right on us. So that's probably it. Just learning to let go and trust that something's happening where we can't see. It's probably it.
It's
cool, man.
So tough when.
Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
I just said it's so tough because we have everything planned out to the minute. Like so often, like every week of the summer is planned out. Every we got our 5-year goals, all that kind of stuff that we love to go after.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw somebody post yesterday, he's like, yeah, your 5-year goal from 2015, did you think it was going to look like this? I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
but no, I know it's really rough on me too, man. So Joe, what were you going to go?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think, everybody's walking through that, that uncertainty and that, okay, God, well, what we're going to do here, trust in him. And then at the same time, you get that sense of hope of like, okay, if this is what we're walking through, then there must be something really awesome on the other side of it. We were just have to kind of wait and trust and see what he does, Okay, so I was looking at the site. I noticed you guys are going to start some camp soon, so you are going to get to have some camp. Let's back up just a hair and go, okay, how did the pandemic affect you guys? Because I know, Brian and I were talking before we got on here. He was talking about he's been helping you guys out and some of the decisions you guys have had to make. You guys are in a similar boat that a lot of churches are. You're trying to figure out kind of how do you do what you do in a safe way, right? So Let's back up for a second. How did the pandemic affect you guys? And then what are you guys doing now kind of as the summer is rolling on? And you are going to start having some camp. So what does that look like?
Yeah. Okay. So the first part, just how the pandemic has affected us. So a lot of people don't know this about the camp, but we operate year round. Probably, 50 of the 52 weeks of the year, we have people using our facilities. Most of the time it's just weekends, and it's church groups from all over the Southeast, really. doing different retreats, men's retreats, women's retreats, that sort of thing, youth retreats. And so, as soon as this all kind of hit back in mid-March, we just got cancellation after cancellation. And it was a lot of new groups and a lot of groups we were really excited to have up here. We're starting to build some good relations with some churches in Atlanta and have this network kind of growing where more and more people are using the camp and frequently, which is really cool because then we get to build these relationships that kind of pour over into our summer camp programming, into giving and everything else. And so, just in the middle of March, like all of a sudden, every rental just canceled, every retreat kind of canceled all at the same time. We actually had a group up here. They started getting here on a Friday when I think it was the first time the president did a state of emergency or something like that. And everything just shut down. They just said, I guess we're going to go home. And, so we had all of our groceries bought and everything. We were waiting on them to get here and then just, waiting around. I guess that's how it's going to be. And so, I mean, financially, we did lose a significant chunk of money from that spring quarter rentals. We do rely on that income just to help offset, keep our camp prices low and that sort of thing for our summer camps. And so that's been a burden. Obviously, like just the interactions with our churches have all kind of have changed, and everybody's so focused on how, how can they keep operating themselves that like the camp is just kind of like this like weird, like, almost, it's not an afterthought, but it's like, everybody's got to figure out obviously what to do with their families, what to do with their churches. And the last thing on their mind is summer camp. And so like we saw this drop off, like where we didn't have a single registration. Normally May, especially like middle of April to mid-May is like all of our registrations are coming in for summer camp. And we may have gotten like 6 registrations in a whole month. So like, it just completely dried up as far as people just making plans like even a month in the future. And it seems to still be the case. Like, even though we've been announcing, it is our intention to have summer camp and everything, people are still just hesitant, it seems like, to make any plans longer than like 1 to 2 weeks out. Yeah. So, I mean, normally this time of year we'd have, 600-700 kids registered for camp. And right now I think we're still in the 200s. So, it's been weird. That's just the kind of the best word to describe it. Quiet and weird and just, like I said, like a ton of uncertainty. As far as for what we're doing moving forward and with our camps this summer, kind of what our plans are. Like Brian said, he sits in our board meetings now. So he's privy to all the insider information, but I mean, we are making decisions on a weekly basis. So we've been planning on trying to kind of work in this 2-week time frame, because even our deans and our churches aren't sure what their ministries are going to be looking like, 2-3 weeks out from now. So we're trying to work in this very short time frame of, okay, are you going to be able to do camp? Like, do you have the coronavirus? If so, like, obviously you're not going to come to camp. So, we can't make these super long-term plans. So we're making, decisions every week about how we're going to do 2 weeks out, basically. So our plan right now, and this is new information, but we're going to push back 1 more week at least. That's our plan for this week. So our start date would be June 14th. Which would mean that we will have canceled our first 3 weeks of camp at this point. That's our middler one, our teener one, and our senior one will have all been canceled at this point. And really, we'll make another decision on Monday about that June 14th camp. And we're hoping to be able to make a little bit more of a long-term decision, maybe for the rest of June, come next Monday. I don't know if anybody actually reads all of the executive orders that the governor has been releasing, but there's some information about camps in there that it's pretty daunting, honestly. And even yesterday, as our board met, we went over a lot of the restrictions that are in that executive order. And I mean, it's camp's hard enough to pull off already, and the thought of doing it while social distancing and while we'd literally be taping off spots on the floor for kids to stand during worship, and limiting the number of kids who can be in a cabin, which would then impact our volunteers and how our ratios are set up as far as all that goes. And I mean, it's hard to know, but that's our plan moving forward, is just kind of take it 1 week at a time. We're hoping, like I said, next week to be able to give parents a little bit more of a heads up than just 2 weeks out. So definitely be praying for that meeting, and just praying that, whatever God wants to happen, that we'll figure out a way to work within that. We know we will, but just that we'll trust and be able to grow from this and make the right decisions. So, yeah.
So, that's one of those things with.
Oh, I think we lost Joey. I can't hear him.
Oh, but he's got good hand motions. That's great.
Yeah.
People don't oftentimes realize the effect it has on other things like camp, So, what are some of the things that they are telling you specifically for camp?
I'm sorry, I lost you on the first part of that question. Are you saying, like, what are some of the government, what the government's saying?
Yeah, that's basically it. I was just saying that with those government orders, a lot of people don't realize the scope of them. They just hear the highlights, restaurants and stuff. So what are some things that they're saying?
Yeah, so I have a copy somewhere right here.
You don't have to read off the entire executive order.
But I'm not going to read it.
Read all 80 pages, Jared.
Yeah,
give them all 80.
It's a nice thick guideline.
Yeah.
And
I thought the craziest one is that every kid has to have a COVID test within 7 days of showing up at camp. And that's a huge hoop, I think, to jump through. So but there's a whole bunch more.
Yeah, that's a big hoop to jump through for sure. The time frame, I spoke to our local health department yesterday morning about these restrictions, and I mean, they understand that the timing is really particular because it takes 2 to 7 days to get a result for these tests. And so if we have to have a result within 7 days, then that leaves about a 1 day window where parents are going to have to get their kids tested. And that doesn't even, bring into account, like, if a kid wants to come 2 weeks in a row, I mean, they literally can't, because they're not going to leave camp, go get tested, come back in the middle of the week so that test still applies over the weekend when they would have gone home. So little things like that are just super prohibitive. Like I was saying, bunk beds in cabins will have to be spaced apart, socially distanced, so at least 6 feet between bunk beds, which means, instead of having 12 to 14 kids in our cabins, we'll have 8 people in our cabins, 8 to 10 people in our cabins. So that takes our number down from, max capacity at 110 to 60 to 70. And they're asking that everybody, that all camps kind of operate within small groups for the entirety of the week. And we normally do that. Most of our programming up here, on night one, they'll break the kids into different groups, and they'll kind of operate within that group or that family for the week. But they're actually wanting the groups to be defined by the cabin that they're staying in, and then they don't want any interaction between cabins. So what that would look like is literally all day long, like, kids would wake up, with the kids in their cabin, and then they would do activities with only the kids in that cabin throughout the entire day. I mean, like, I'm talking like meal times, they would have to sit at the table with those kids only, and then they'd have to space out. We'll space out our dining hall tables so that, every table 6 feet apart, and we have to follow the restaurant guidelines as well. So we can't have like self-service drinks or condiments or anything like that. If kids come through the line, we'll have to put up like plexiglass and everything. All of our staff will have to wear masks while they're interacting with the kids inside, serving the food and all that kind of stuff. We'll have to mark off on the floor where kids can stand when they come into the dining hall. obviously the cleaning regimen will be like nuts. I mean, the cabins have to be cleaned every day. The bunk beds have to be disinfected every day. All the public facilities, like the dining hall, bathrooms, the pool house, all that has to be cleaned at least twice a day. And then every time an activity happens, like if someone plays 9 square or gaga ball, like in between groups, all the equipment has to be sanitized between use. And that's not to mention just like the whole idea is keep the kids separate. So like, you know, basically what we love about North Georgia Christian Camp is that, you know, when everyone's here, like it's one big family, you know, like we don't have all the activities that a lot of other camps have, you know, we don't have like crazy zip lines or high ropes or stuff like that. But what we do have is like awesome men and women who literally like pour their lives into these kids and just like over the course of the week, like just build these amazing relationships. And without being able to do that, it's not going to feel like our camp, you know, it's going to feel like just this weird sanitized version of camp. And it's really disheartening and just daunting to think through, like, is it worth doing, you know, like, will kids even enjoy this if they can get up here, if they can get a test, if, you know, I mean, one more thing, like parents aren't allowed to get out of their car when they drop their kids off. So I mean, they can't take their kids' bags in. They can't make their beds for them. I mean, it's literally like they show up, we check them in from inside their car, check their temperature, and then like they drop them off and that's it. And we take them inside, we'll make their bed, you know, that's how it would be if everything stands how it's kind of set up right now. But yeah.
Wow. And that, to me, what you were talking about, just that idea of having to stay in a group. I mean, it almost changes the camp experience, because I mean, you get to meet kids from all other churches, and if you come in a church group, you're going to end up getting probably stuck with the other kids. You know, like, I know these kids, I go to church with them. What about those kids over there I don't go to church with? I'd like to meet them.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of what makes camp so cool and so special. And we have so many kids who, like, the only time they get to see some of their best friends in the whole school year is just at summer camp, you know, like they live so that they can come to camp and see their friends, and then they don't get to see them for a whole other year, but they keep in touch, you know, through social media and everything. They get here and, you know, a whole year's passed and they're still best friends. It's amazing. But, you know, that kind of thing won't really be able to happen as is. So, yeah.
As you were talking, I'd like for you and Brian to kind of talk about this, because both of you are in leadership positions there at the camp, and I want you to talk from a leader's perspective of having to make these decisions. Like, just talk through a little bit of, like, what have you guys been thinking? How are you feeling? I mean, you know, it's for a lot of the people who may be listening or watching to this, they just go to church. And it's easy sometimes.
We lost him again.
Yeah, he's frozen on my end as well.
Okay.
What's been going through your heart and mind as you make decisions? Does that make sense?
Yep. I think we got it. You froze
Brian,
up
you and
a little
Jared.
again. I think we lost you there for a minute. I think you're just asking, like, being in these leadership roles, of how to make these decisions and what we're kind of feeling. And you know, I think it just weighs heavy. You know, as a youth minister, I'm blessed to have leadership over me that I can go to many times make some more difficult decisions. You know, I can go to Nick and I can go to the elders, and then they really help me make some really tough calls. And you know, now being on the board at camp, I'm kind of in that one of those leadership roles where, you know, those decisions we make, like, it affects weeks of camp. And I love camp. I grew up going to camp. That's one of the reasons I'm in youth ministry, because I've been to camp for the last 30 years, at least 1 week of my life. You know, I mean, just it's where I chose to go into ministry. So anytime I hate having to make those calls of, hey, we're not having camp this week because, you know, there's it's such a important thing to me. Camp is, and I hate shutting it down. So it's been really tough on me to have to, for all of us, I think, to make these calls of, hey, we're just not safe, or we can't, live up to these mandates and laws that have been put out. Just so we can't even, camp would look totally different. It's been heavy on me to have to do that and have to push those off. It's just, I hate it. I have a whole other sense for the leaders above me that have to make these calls, because they're tough to make. They're really tough to make.
Yeah. Jared?
Yeah, definitely agree with everything Brian says. Like he's saying, most of our members on our camp board are, either youth ministers who are super involved in camp and have been for years, or ministers at our churches, everyone loves camp so much. And, you've seen so many camps, like if you follow any other camps or just wonder what's going on in the camping world. Like, I mean, as soon as this stuff started hitting, people started canceling camps for the summer. And I do really appreciate the fact that our camp board, they want camp to happen, and I know it puts our parents in a kind of inconvenient space just because of the timing. There's a short window once we make a decision if that camp's going to happen. But, I'd rather have a camp board that wants camp to happen, no matter what, than, threw in the towel 3 months ago prematurely. So that's what we're holding on for, here is the hope that things change, that, these restrictions lighten, and that we can have camp in a way that resembles camp. So yeah, from a leadership perspective, I mean, it's hard. Like I said, even though we're down, probably 300 to 400, campers right now, as of who would have already registered for camp, we still have 200 something kids who are registered who haven't been able to really leave the house or do anything with friends or get away and do anything for 3 months now. And I can't imagine how crushed they'll be if the one thing that they've been looking forward to for months now is canceled. And parents, same thing, parents want their kids to get these experiences, parents start signing their kids up February 1st, as soon as we open, registrations. And so to take that away from them as well, it hurts, and our whole board is in agreement, every time we make a decision, it's painful. You can see it on our board's faces when we're sitting there on the Zoom meeting like this, and no one wants to be the one who decides to cancel camp. And unfortunately, that's where we're at with it. But we're also looking to our churches. I've been, Brian got a text from me this morning. I'm doing everything that I can to kind of see where our churches are at and follow suit with them, because, our mission as a camp is to be an extension of our churches. So, we try and operate on our own to some extent. We have kids who are unchurched come to camp every summer, and it's awesome. But then, the majority of our kids do come from our churches, and we want to make sure that we're kind of going with where our churches go. The hard thing about that is that we have, about 30 churches that are all doing different things right now. So, I mean, it's all over the place, but it's definitely a hard time, a stressful time, but it's nice to know that our board is supportive and that our churches are supportive of what we're doing here. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Jared, you guys, Joey, you and I
go
were
ahead. No, go ahead.
I know you guys have a great summer staff program. How has this season affected that? With camps you guys have, do you still hope to have them come? Or I know that's something, for me, when I was, in the college age, I love doing summer staff. So I'm curious how that looks for you guys this summer, as far as you know.
Yeah. So we basically, summer staff is that's one of the coolest parts about camp. We really try hard when we're picking our summer staff to pick people that fit into what North Georgia Christian Camp is all about, which is relationship. And so, I've been really excited. I actually started hiring our summer staff back in November of last year, and I had it all locked down basically by like January, which was super, super early for me and exciting. I felt like I was, ahead of the curve, and I have a really, really awesome staff selected. And we actually had our first Zoom staff meeting last night, where we're just trying to get to know each other a little bit, since nobody can move up here yet. We started out with 12 staff, and even in the past week alone, we've had 2 staff that have backed out just because their parents are a little bit uneasy about the future and about them coming up here to camp. So who knows, whenever we do get to start, if all 10 of them will still be here or not. But they're an awesome group of college students, a couple that are graduating high school this year. They're really excited about camp. We have a few that are returning. So I think 3 from last year, something like that, are coming back and working again this summer. And it's cool too, because they were students that, at the end of last summer, they said they're probably not going to be able to come back. They're kind of moving on to different chapters of life and everything. And then just slowly throughout the off season, I get texts here or there. I was like, hey, like kind of thinking about summer is, do you still have any openings? And, we'd love to have them back. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard on them too. And just like our kids, that are come to camp this summer, like most of them, their school years, their college, semesters got cut short. They've been sitting at home, for the past 3 months, is really bored out of their minds, what they've said. And they're excited to get up here. I mean, one of them last night, I was asking how they're all doing, and he just said, man, I'm so angry, I'm so angry right now that we can't do what we've been waiting for. He's wanted to work here for a couple of years now, and he's finally old enough to do it. And it's hard on them, so I'm really hoping, that they'll be able to come up. Our plan for them is basically the minute we have a green light, like for camp starting, they're going to come up a week and a half before that. We'll do all of our training up front and just get to know each other and hang out. It's different, but it's going to be good. They're a good group of kids, and they're really excited to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I kind of want to wrap this up. We've been going for a little bit, but here's how I want to close.
Oh, Joey, can't hear you, man.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm talking and you're not even listening. Hopefully you'll be free.
Cannot.
Trying to get
How do
better.
you want to wrap this up? Tell us.
Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about something that, Jared, you're super, super excited about, or you're like, man, this is what I see in the future. Let's lift our eyes above the pandemic for a minute, and let's look to the future of what God can do, or you want to do. So talk to us a little bit about maybe future plans, or something that's just God has got on your heart for the camp, vision, future, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so just bringing the pandemic into it for a second, because I feel like this response kind of perfectly illustrates like what we're all feeling. We have a group chat with our staff, and when senior one got canceled a few weeks ago, when we made that decision, one of the students who's working this summer but would have gone to senior one, he texted about how bummed he was and everything, and then another one was like, but man, just imagine how awesome senior 2 is going to be now, like when everybody from both senior camps gets there together and everybody's interacting, it's just, think of the energy that's going to have. And I think that just like encompasses like just our anticipation for this to be over and for the future. When it is over and things get back to normal, man, like, I mean, camp is going to be amazing, like we've done without, we've settled into this uncertainty. And the second that I feel like, that's lifted and we have like people up here again, like people who genuinely want to be up here. No one's getting dragged to the next camp session, like it's going to fill up as soon as it's available. And so I think just anticipatory, like excitement, like we are so excited for the next time that campers are up here, whenever that is. Hopefully it's June 14th, but if it's later than that, then we'll be there. As far as, where we're looking to go as a camp, one big thing that we're hoping to do this upcoming year is start a day camp program for like local kids from our community. And it's cool because we've been wanting to do this for like 3 years now, and we just haven't had the facilities to do it. But last year when we purchased the gym, the Family Life Center from Harvest Christian Church, that opened up a whole new window for us to do that. And so one of our goals this season was to finish that building, because it has a whole unfinished second floor that we can put like additional sleeping areas and classrooms and that meeting space and that sort of thing. But that had to be on hold once this all hit as well. So that project is on hold, but our desire to start a day camp, that's still our intention in 2021. And it's definitely like the idea has been improved over the course of this pandemic, because we've had so many parents calling like locally, just like, oh my gosh, can you guys do day camps? Like we can't send our kids overnight, but do you have anything that you can do just like to occupy our kids in the daytime? And we're like, well, next year we will. Like that's been our plan this whole time. But I think that, it'll be really cool to get kids from our community plugged into the resources that we have up here, and then hopefully get them plugged into some local churches and stuff too through that. So that's kind of the big thing that we're hoping for.
Cool, man.
To start that day camp program in 2021, get the gym finished along the way. Yeah. That's
awesome. That's a great idea, man. We'll be praying for that for sure.
Thank you.
How can people keep up with, what's the best way for people to keep up with camp? And maybe even if they want to support camp, what are some ways to do that?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for asking. So the best way to keep up with camp probably at this point is just to follow us on social media. So like if you just go to Facebook, facebook.com/North Georgia Christian Camp, just spell it out. It's right there. We update that probably more than anything. You can also go to our website, which is just christiancamp.net, super easy. And we've been putting, every time we've been releasing like an update, we've been putting like a header at the top of the page that says like COVID-19 update with the date beside it. So that's a really easy place to follow along. You can sign up for our newsletter by going to our website as well and just enter in your email address. And we'll send updates. We don't spam you or anything. It'll be like once every 2 months, basically, something like that. And then as far as giving, definitely, if any, I know it's hard times for everybody right now. A lot of people are out of work, and a lot of extra expenses with daycare and trying to occupy kids, and obviously like all of a sudden food is more expensive than it's been. So I understand, that it's a financial strain right now on everybody, but if anyone does, have a little extra to give here or there, we would really appreciate it. Like I said, financially we've been hit pretty hard by this with a lack of rentals. And now as we kind of cancel week by week in the summertime, that's just more of our operating income that has been hit, unfortunately. So it's easy to donate. You can do it online at christiancamp.net/donate. There's just a big button that says support camp, and it'll take you to a page where you can donate however much you want. An easy way to give also is to text. You can text the number 84321. It's 84321, and you just enter the amount that you want to give. So if you want to give like $1 million, you just put million, and text it to 84321. But yeah, any amounts super appreciated. Everything's tax deductible, obviously, and we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would say to anyone, whether you have a kid going to camp or not, your grandkid going to camp, man, please support the camp, man. They do great work. Our church has supported it for years and will continue to. And so even during this time, maybe your kid can't go, but you got the money budgeted for it, man. Why don't you donate their what you would, you know what I'm saying? Like what you would give him if you already budgeted for them, but they're not going to get to go. Why not donate that money anyways? So just encourage people to think about that. We'll link all that, social media stuff to this. So anybody who's watching, you can click on the links below to be able to go to the camp and check and do all that donating stuff. So, hey man, I'm going to ask Collin to pray for us to close out and pray for the camp. But Jared, man, thanks for spending time with us. It was great having you share the camp and what you guys are doing. It's been great talking with you and Brian and stuff about the camp, and we'll be praying for you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
In the camp for sure. And watching and hoping and praying about that future thing too. I think that day camp idea is awesome. So, but Collin, will you pray for the camp and pray for our time, and thank God for letting us get to spend some time together?
Absolutely. Jesus, thank you so much for Jared. Thank you for North Georgia Christian Camp. Jesus, I pray that you would make a difference in the lives of students and kids that will go to camp this summer. Would you give Jared and the elders and the leadership of North Georgia Christian Camp wisdom? God, we know that you have a plan. Even though we don't know what that plan is today, we're hopeful that North Georgia will see kids at camp on June 14th. But even if that does not happen, we pray that you would reveal your plan. Again, thank you so much for the time we've been able to spend with Jared today. Give him wisdom and courage as he continues to lead. And God, we pray that you would help us make a difference where we are in this season. We love you so much, and it's in your name we pray all these things. Amen.
Amen. Hey, man, you guys have a great day, and we'll check you guys later.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, guys.